It was 1 week to Christmas, and everyone was excited. The Christmas period was a special time of the year that came only once. Children, youths, families, and friends were all looking forward to it. Joshua and Mary were a happy couple who had been married for many years. They had 2 beautiful daughters, Sandra and Cynthia, who were now grown up. The whole family was excited about Christmas. Cynthia, the elder sister, had already made plans for Christmas. She told her sister Sandra that she and her friends were going to spend Christmas at a Mingo Bar and Hotel. A Mingo Bar and Hotel? Sandra asked, her eyes wide with excitement. That's a great place. I've heard a lot about it. Cynthia smiled. Yes, it's a fantastic place. They have music, dancing, and lots of food. We're going to have so much fun. Sandra wished she could go with her sister, but she had already made plans with her own friends. They were going to spend Christmas at the beach. Mary, their mother, was happy to see her daughters so excited about Christmas. She and Joshua had also made plans to spend Christmas with their friends and family. As the days went by, everyone's excitement grew. They started decorating their homes, buying new clothes, and preparing traditional Christmas foods. Joshua and Mary's home was filled with the delicious smell of cooking. Mary was busy in the kitchen, preparing a special Christmas meal. Joshua was outside, decorating the house with lights and flowers. The atmosphere was filled with joy and happiness. Everyone was looking forward to a wonderful Christmas celebration. When it was just 2 days before the Christmas, Cynthia's friends were getting more and more excited. They would come to her house every day, discussing their plans for Christmas. One day, while Cynthia and her sister Sandra were sitting in their room, they started talking about their Christmas plans. I'm so excited about Christmas, Cynthia said, bouncing up and down on her bed. My friends and I are going to a Mingo Bar and Hotel. We're going to dance, eat, and have so much fun. Sandra looked at her sister with a mixture of excitement and envy. That sounds like so much fun, she said. I wish I could go with you. Cynthia smiled. You can come if you want, she said. But I know you have your own plans with your friends. Just then, their mother Mary walked into the room. She heard the girls talking about their Christmas plans. Mom, Cynthia and her friends are going to a Mingo Bar and Hotel for Christmas, Sandra said. Mary smiled. That sounds like fun, she said. But are you sure that's where you want to go? Cynthia nodded eagerly. Yes, Mom. We've been planning this for weeks. We're going to have the best time ever. Mary looked at her daughters and saw how excited they were. She thought to herself, they're grown up now. They know what's good for them. So she didn't advise them not to go to a Mingo Bar and Hotel. Instead, she said, okay, dear. Just make sure you're careful and stay with your friends. Cynthia and Sandra cheered and hugged each other. They were so excited about their Christmas plans. As their mother left the room, Cynthia turned to Sandra and said, I'm so glad Mom didn't say no. I was worried she might not let me go. Sandra smiled. I know. Mom trusts us to make good decisions. We're grown up now. Cynthia nodded in agreement. Yes, we are. And we're going to have the best Christmas ever. One faithful day, it was a day before Christmas, Joshua and his family were all seated in the sitting room. Joshua had a surprise announcement to make. I have some good news to share with you all, Joshua said, smiling at his family. We're going to spend Christmas in the village with Grandma and Grandpa. Cynthia and Sandra looked at each other in surprise. They had already made plans for Christmas, and going to the village was not part of those plans. But Dad, I already have plans with my friends, Cynthia said, looking disappointed. We're going to a Mingo Bar and Hotel for Christmas. Sandra nodded in agreement. Yes, Dad, I also have plans with my friends. Joshua looked at his daughters, wanting to refuse their requests. But Mary, their mother, intervened. Joshua, please let them go, Mary said, smiling. Christmas is only once a year, and they deserve to have some fun with their friends. Cynthia and Sandra looked at their mother gratefully. They were happy that she was supporting them. Thank you, Mom, Cynthia said, hugging her mother. Yes, thank you, Mom, Sandra echoed. Joshua looked at his daughters, then at his wife. He knew he couldn't refuse them. Okay, fine, Joshua said. But be careful while you're out, and don't stay out too late. Cynthia and Sandra cheered and hugged each other. They were excited to spend Christmas with their friends. We will, Dad, Cynthia promised. Don't worry, we'll be careful. Sandra nodded in agreement. Yes, Dad, we'll be fine. Mary smiled at her family, happy to see them all smiling and excited for Christmas. I'm glad we could come to an agreement, Mary said. Now, let's get ready for Christmas tomorrow. The following day, which was the day everyone has been creeping for, Joshua and Mary left the house early in the morning. They traveled to the village to spend the holiday with their grandparents. Cynthia and Sandra were thrilled to have the house to themselves. Their parents had left them enough money to enjoy their day. I'm so excited, Cynthia said to Sandra. I'm going to meet my friends at a Mingo bar and hotel tonight. Sandra smiled. I'm going to visit my boyfriend, she said. He invited me to his house. As the day went by, Cynthia and Sandra got ready for their respective outings. Cynthia put on her best dress and did her hair, while Sandra wore a beautiful outfit and applied some makeup. In the evening, Cynthia left the house and headed to a Mingo bar and hotel. She met her friends there, and they started their party at 6 p.m. They ordered chicken and drinks and danced the night away. Cynthia was having the time of her life. Meanwhile, Sandra was at her boyfriend's house, having a great time. They sat together, drinking and eating, and enjoying each other's company. As the night wore on, Cynthia and her friends continued to party. They took photos, laughed, and danced some more. Cynthia was grateful to her parents for giving her the freedom to enjoy her Christmas. She knew she would always remember this night. As for Sandra, she was happy to be spending time with her boyfriend. She felt loved and cherished, and she knew that this Christmas was one she would always treasure. The night went on, filled with laughter, music, and joy. Cynthia and Sandra were living their best lives, and they knew that this Christmas would be one to remember. After the party, Cynthia and her friends said their goodbyes and left a Mingo bar and hotel. They were all in high spirits, laughing and joking as they walked home. But as they turned a corner, something terrifying happened. A group of bandits jumped out of the shadows and attacked them. Cynthia's friends ran away, screaming for help. But Cynthia was caught by the bandits. They dragged her away, kicking and screaming. The bandits left Cynthia into a small room. She was alone, scared, and confused. One of the bandits came into the room, his face twisted with evil. You're going to pay us 45 million naira, he growled. If you or your parents don't give us the money, we'll have sex with you and then kill you. Cynthia was horrified. She cried and begged the bandit to let her go. But he just laughed and walked away. Cynthia was left alone in the room. She was scared and regretful. Why had she followed her friends to the party instead of going with her dad to the village? She thought about her parents and her grandparents. She thought about her friends. She wondered if she would ever see them again. As the hours passed, Cynthia grew more and more desperate. She knew she had to find a way to escape. But how? She looked around the room, searching for any clue. But there was nothing. No window, no way out. Cynthia was trapped. And she didn't know if she would ever be free again. Later that night, Sandra arrived home, but she was surprised to find that her sister Cynthia wasn't home. She waited for a few hours, thinking maybe Cynthia was just running late. But as the hours passed and Cynthia didn't show up, Sandra started to get worried. She tried calling Cynthia's number, but it rang and rang without being answered. Sandra felt a knot in her stomach. Where could Cynthia be? Why wasn't she answering her phone? Sandra's mind was filled with questions and fears. What would she tell her parents when they came back? How would they feel? Sandra was scared that something terrible had happened to her sister. As the night wore on, Sandra became more and more anxious. She paced back and forth in the living room, trying to think of what to do next. Just when she thought she couldn't take it anymore, Sandra's phone rang. She grabbed it quickly, hoping it was Cynthia calling to say she was okay. But when she answered the phone, she was surprised to hear a man's voice on the other end. The voice was thick and scary, and Sandra's heart skipped a beat. Hello, Sandra said politely, trying to hide the fear in her voice. Shut up and listen, the man growled. We have your sister Cynthia. If you want to see her again, you'll need to pay us 45 million naira. Sandra's eyes widened in horror. What was happening? Who were these people? Please, don't hurt her, Sandra begged. We'll do whatever you want. Just don't hurt Cynthia. But the man just laughed. You'll do whatever we want, all right, he sneered. You'll pay us the money, or we'll rape your sister and kill her for money rituals. Sandra was shocked. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. The man ended the call, leaving Sandra in a state of panic. She cried the whole night, not knowing what to do or who to run to. She felt helpless and scared, and she didn't know how she was going to save her sister. The following day, Mary called Sandra to let her know that she and Joshua would be coming back home that evening. Sandra's eyes were filled with tears as she thought about her sister Cynthia, but she tried to hide her feelings from her mother. "Okay, Mom, I'll see you tonight," Sandra replied calmly, pretending that nothing was wrong. After she ended the call, Sandra thought about what to do to rescue her sister from the bandits. But no matter how hard she thought, she couldn't come up with a perfect plan. She knew she had no choice but to wait for her parents to come back and figure out the next step. Later that evening, when Joshua and Mary arrived home, they noticed that Sandra looked sad and worried. "Hey, sweetie, what's wrong?" Mary asked, concern etched on her face. Sandra hesitated, not knowing how to break the news to her parents. But she knew she had to tell them. "It's Cynthia," Sandra said, her voice shaking. "She's been kidnapped." Joshua and Mary were shocked. They looked at each other in horror, then back at Sandra. "What do you mean she's been kidnapped?" Joshua asked, his voice firm but worried. Sandra took a deep breath and explained everything, how Cynthia had gone to a Mingo bar and hotel, how the bandits had taken her, and how they were demanding 45 million naira in ransom. Joshua and Mary were stunned. They didn't have that kind of money, and they were scared of what the bandits might do to Cynthia if they didn't pay. "Oh no, oh no, oh no," Mary kept repeating, her hands on her head. Joshua tried to calm her down. "We'll figure something out," he said. "We'll find a way to get Cynthia back." But deep down, they were both scared. They knew that dealing with kidnappers was a delicate situation, and they didn't know what the outcome would be. After an hour, Sandra's phone rang again. She looked at the screen and saw that it was the bandits who had kidnapped Cynthia. She quickly gave the phone to her father, Joshua. Joshua answered the call, trying to stay calm. "Hello," he said. The kidnapper's voice was cold and menacing. "We want to speak to Cynthia's family," he said. Joshua introduced himself. "I'm Mr. Joshua, Cynthia's father. What do you want?" The kidnapper repeated their demand. "We want 45 million naira. If you don't pay, we'll kill your daughter." Joshua was shocked and afraid. He tried to reason with the kidnapper. "I don't have that kind of money. I'm just a simple man. I don't know where to get that amount of money." The kidnapper's response was cruel. "Since you don't have the money and can't even borrow from people, then forget about your daughter. I'll kill her for rituals tomorrow morning." Joshua was horrified. He tried to plead with the kidnapper, but he just ended the call. Joshua was left standing there, feeling sad and worried. He didn't have the money, and he didn't know who to turn to. The next morning, Joshua received a call from the kidnapper again. But this time, it was not a call, but a message with a picture attached. Sandra saw the message and screamed. The picture was of Cynthia, lying lifeless on the ground. Sandra and her parents were shocked and devastated. They cried and regretted allowing Cynthia to go out for Christmas. "Why did we let her go?" Mary cried. "We should have been more careful." "Why did who? Didn't I told you not to let them go out but you instead?" Joshua said, feeling sad, and left her presence to his room. Thank you for watching our interesting stories. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories like this.